Hello, my friends. Today, I'd like to speak with you about something that I feel very passionate about, something that is the foundation of all my work with my clients, the foundation and the essence of my own self care, and also the essence of the training certification I run under our training institute called Trauma-informed Somatic Teacher and Coach for Women. And that something is approaching your body as your ally. And I know this is quite difficult subject when we work with people or we have experienced ourselves trauma or traumatic experiences where everything within us is screaming that our body is not our ally, that our body is working against us in some kind of way. And this exploration today is an invitation to reframing it a little bit and start looking at the ways that we can start working with our own body as an ally. And so we have to understand where it comes from. And if you start looking a little bit deeper, just underneath the surface, you start noticing how the whole of our society is built on that split of mind and body. You will start noticing how the society, our Western society, glorifies the power of mind and logic and treats emotions as secondary experiences within our experience. And it comes very simply from this understanding and focus on the power of the mind that comes from Cartesian thinking. I'm sure you know the phrase, I think, therefore I am. And the whole of our society is built around that. And when we start looking into it, we start understanding that everywhere that we look within our Western society, you can see that there is the physical health and there is the mental health. There is the educational system. And if your mind doesn't work in a certain kind of way, that is designed to really use the mind for the logical and focused thinking, to be able to write essays, to be able to stay focused for a long amount of times, then your educational process and journey is deeply impacted by it, because within our society, people who are able to use their minds in that specific logical way are lifted up above those of us who are maybe much more kinesthetic, who work with their hands, who engage in some kind of way, but are not able to maybe engage in the process of education on the same level. And so right from the beginning, this split of mind and body is conditioned within us. We don't approach, and maybe that's changing a little bit now, but this holistic and whole person approach where there is embracing of the soma, psyche, and soul through the systems thinking approach is very often lacking within our society. And this is why I absolutely love the somatic teacher and coach approach, which can really facilitate that embodied healing, that can really help us to reconnect with that mind and body connection. And so, when we come down to trauma and exploring the trauma, we have to understand that trauma is not just in the mind, it's not just in the emotions. It's a very, very physical and body focused response that is within our somatic memory. I often say that, your body is your biography. Everything that you experience in your past is recorded within your body, within your nervous system, within the responses that you make, because a lot of it moves from conscious awareness into subconscious remembering. So you might not consciously remember something, but it can still drive the choices that you make within your personal life, within your health habits, within the choices of employment, whether you are able to be open to new opportunities. And so all of that is still recorded within your body. It's still present. And it might not be so visible, but it's still here. And many of our unresolved trauma can manifest as physical symptoms. So many chronic conditions and chronic pain are now linked with chronic stress and traumatic experiences. One of the people that explores it really well is Dr. Gabor Mate. And, his books, his interviews, his workshops allow us to really go deeper into that understanding. And one of the things that I really need to say in here is that sometimes, in order for us to survive, we have to push those traumatic memories out of awareness into our subconscious. We have to do that in order to survive. And that is a really great survival mechanism that we have as human beings. But if we stay in that place, of numbing out or really disconnecting and disassociating, we can start experiencing those chronic conditions, because our body is always trying to communicate with us, always trying to first whisper that something is going on, and then it starts talking louder, and then sometimes it starts shouting. And if we don't listen to the whispers, we will be forced to listen to the shouting of our body. And so everything starts with awareness. We cannot change what we are not aware of. And this is why taking time to practice awareness practices is so useful. This is why mindfulness can be so helpful. Noticing what's going on within your body, what goes on within your breath, what goes on through the physical sensations. And then when we are ready, we can start taking a step further into more of an embodied awareness, into embodiment, into allowing ourselves to start experiencing what is really going on for us. That it always has to start with awareness. As I said, what you are not aware of, you cannot change, but it will still be reinforcing and controlling your behaviors. And so when it comes to women, I know it happens for men as well, but particularly for women, women can experience so much disconnection from their bodies. And it all starts within our childhood for both men and women. We are told not to trust our emotions. We are told to behave properly, to sit quietly, to pay attention. If we experience anger, one of the emotions that many of us, especially women, find very challenging to connect with and express, we are told as girls that it's not good for girls to be angry, to show their anger, even though anger is a really great response, letting us know that something is not right here, that we need to pay attention to something here. And, this can carry into our adult life. We can still, as, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70-year-old women, find it difficult to trust that anger when it comes up, find it difficult to express that anger in a healthy way, and use that anger to help us to put in place healthy boundaries with other people. And so there is so much in here that we could unpick. And, there are other things. We can talk about a lot of impact of the childhood trauma and adverse childhood experiences. We can start talking about and paying attention to generational trauma. just last weekend, we were exploring generational trauma in the training in our Trauma-informed Somatic Teacher and Coach for Women training certification. There's so much stuff that came up for us. There is so much stuff around generational trauma that is not just about our attachment styles and our attachments experiences with primary carers, but also from those further generations, from our grandparents, from our great-grandparents. There is some research that shows that generational trauma can go 8 generations into the past. And if I think about my own history, being Polish and growing up in Poland, and both of the sides of my grandparents as very young teenagers being in Germany and being forced to work, and then the impact of that and losing some family members in concentration camps, and moving, all the impact of that generational trauma, and even growing up as a child with loads of movies, with going and visiting as part of our history and education, visiting concentration camps. That's a huge impact on my identity, on thinking who I am, what's important, and how life is, and what I need to be aware of. So there is so much impact on us, and so much stuff that comes into our awareness that might be difficult to hold for us. And then there is obviously, for women especially, this kind of societal pressures in a patriarchal dominated society, and many roles that women have to take on as a homemaker, as a parent, as a child looking after aging parents, and then having professional career on running your own business, and then trying to adjust into the rhythm and the economical pressures and career pressures or business pressures within a society that really is built around the needs of men rather than women. That's a lot of stuff to hold. So no wonder that there is so much of that mind-body disconnection. I mean, there are 2 parts within, or 2 seasons within women's lives, that women are really discriminated when it comes down to career choices, for example. At the time when women are having children, and at the time when women start going through perimenopause and menopause and need to change how they embrace their own energy, the needs of their body and mind, their own rhythm. So a lot of things that really happen to women that are not maybe supported within our society. And so this is where the somatic practices can really, really help. We can start with very simple things like having those somatic checking in, embodied checking in, embodied body scans, noticing what's happening within our body, noticing what's happening within our nervous system, whether we are in hyper alertness, that hyper activation of fight or flight, the sympathetic nervous system, or whether we are tipping over into hyper alertness, when we're going into freeze or shutdown because our system cannot cope with what's happening around us. That education can be so powerful for women. It can really give them back empowerment, feeling empowered and choice. We can practice on a daily basis grounding or centering exercises. We can practice orienting to really acknowledge the safety of our immediate environment. We can use breath work in so many different ways to help us arrive back within the body, to help us ground within our body, to help us release the stress that we are holding. And obviously, moving into bringing more movement into our practices. Um, Movement is life. Ultimately, there is no stillness within our body. There is always some kind of movement. There is always some kind of shifting. There is a body moving with breath. There is a heartbeat. Our lungs are working. The digestive system is working. There is so much that is always happening within our body. And therefore, when there is life within our body, there is movement within our body. And really utilizing more of the movement, whether it's dance or walking or doing yoga or somatic movement practices, and other body-centered practices. It's really embracing the movement in a way that is right for us, in the right rhythm, in the right pace, whether it is to let go of this excess energy that we have when we are in a hyperactivation, when we've been feeling anxious or worried or angry, just really getting rid of some of that energy through movement, or whether it is to bringing a little bit more movement when we've been in a freeze or shutdown state, to start moving a little bit more, inviting more of that movement, which helps us then rebalance. And so the key in here is to start learning of how to listen to your body's wisdom. And for women especially, it is about honoring our intuition as a valuable source of guidance, listening to those body whispers, honoring how we feel, even if other people around us are telling us, oh, you should not be feeling this. That's not true. This sense of inner self-trust is something that's been so powerful for me in my own journey. And this is something that comes up so often, whether it is in my work with clients or whether it is in the training. How can we honor what we are experiencing? So not only, what do we do with it when we start experiencing it a little bit more? We could go back into numbing behaviors or disassociating, or we could learn how to start honoring little by little those whispers from our body. And one of the most amazing practices that I've learned over the last few years is the practice of focusing, or as I call it, embodied listening, where we start working with felt senses and inner parts, when we start honoring how we feel, when we start creating a bit of space through cultivating curiosity, openness, and kindness, that sense of self-compassion for all different parts of us, experiencing and showing up in different ways. And when we start working with our felt senses and parts in this way, when we start honoring our inner experience, we can start cultivating more of that body positivity and acceptance. And this is such an important part in our trauma healing. We can start bringing more awareness and bringing more acceptance into embracing fully how we are. This is, by the way, a step number one within my coaching method, the Soma Psyche Soul coaching method that I work with my clients, and also that I teach in Trauma-informed Somatic Teacher and Coach for Women certification. It has to start with that step one, embracing fully who you are. And that might mean different things for different women. It might be honoring our inner experience and trusting it above the feedback and the advice of others. It might be accepting and honoring the needs that we have as we go through different seasons of our lives. The needs that you have as a woman in her 20s and 30s, those needs are different than when you start shifting into perimenopause and menopause. Really honoring those different seasons of our lives can have such a profound impact on who we are and the choices that we make, whether it is in the way that we take care of ourselves, in our relationships, or within our business and career. And so ultimately for me, when I think about this, when I think about treating your body as an ally, it's that it is about feeling more empowered as a woman. It is about becoming more active within your own healing process. When you start using your body as an ally, you can start working towards releasing that stored trauma within your body that leads to emotional healing and growth. When we take into our own hands how we take care of our needs in an empowered way, we can then take daily baby steps to learn about how we can befriend our nervous system. We can start understanding how it works and how it's conditioned to react to our inner and outer situations. We can start honoring our emotions and inner responses and allow ourselves to say, well, no wonder I'm feeling like this, or no wonder there are parts of me feeling like this. But really honoring how we are. We can also start addressing our stress levels and connect with our own inner rhythm and pace. We can start embracing rest, which is one of the most important things in today's really busy way of how we live within our society. We can start then healing our trauma, working with our chronic stress, because we have got so much more inner resources to do that. And we can start looking to where we need support from others to do that, rather than holding it all on your own. So one of the things, how it worked for me is that I am 50 now, or next week, and my needs have changed as I'm going through perimenopause. And I have got a long history of workaholism. I worked in social care for many years, for 16 years before I started running my own business. I've been teaching and coaching people for the last 13 years, initially alongside of my full-time social care job, working with trauma and working with families who are on child protection, working with mental health and domestic violence, and substance use. And, I was working 7 days a week. And for a period of time, that was okay. I was working in social care. I was running a yoga studio, seeing clients one-to-one and running groups and day retreats and workshops. And I was also studying the same time, and my body could take that. And after some time, my body started shifting. I have experienced burnout as well when I was working in social care. I know how it feels to crash completely, because you've been putting in so much and you haven't been taking care of your own needs. And so as my body started to change, I really needed to reconnect with what I needed. I started asking myself on a daily basis, how can I meet my needs in a more empowered way? How can I look after myself a little bit better? And ultimately, as a trauma-informed somatic teacher and coach, I can't really work with other women telling them to do that if I'm not doing it myself. It's just, that would be a huge cognitive dissonance, and it would make me feel really, really uncomfortable. And so if I am to look after my clients in a right kind of way, if I am going to deliver the training and lead other women in this kind of way and share this way of working, I have to be able to do it for myself. And that was a big learning curve for me. How do I do it? How do I show up for my clients and other female practitioners? And how do I look after my own needs the same way? And, it started with really understanding what my needs are. Like, you cannot meet your needs unless you know what they are. So the first step is always, that step of embracing who I am, embracing my changing needs, embracing where I am not taking care of myself. How can I befriend my nervous system in a better way? Honoring my emotions, honoring those inner whispers, reducing my stress levels, and really adjusting to a new rhythm that my body and my whole system was asking for. And so, if we want to work with trauma, if we want to stay healthy, if we want to stay happy, we have to start changing our relationship to our body. We have to start reframing what's happening for us from this way of thinking, my body's turning against me. It's doing stuff that I don't understand, and I don't understand why it's doing it, and I want to control it. And then maybe turning straight away to medication, and trying to control it in that way. And obviously there is a time and place for all of that, and I am so grateful to our medical system for all that support. There is no denying it, that it's there to support us, and it's very powerful way. But there is also other ways that we can do that. When we embrace our own bodies as our powerful allies in our healing journeys, we can start working with our bodies. We can start holding our bodies from that more empowered and stable space, where we can just continue increasing our inner connection, and where we can start feeling much more empowered in a way that we do that. And so I wonder what you think about this. I wonder where you are at this, at this continuum of my body is my ally or my body is working against me. Because ultimately it's not this black and white thing. It's like either my body is an ally or my body is my enemy and it's doing stuff against me. It exists for me on a continuum within which we can make daily choices that will help us to become more connected, more stable, more comfortable within our bodies. And we can feel empowered in those choices as we make them. So I hope you found this episode useful. That provided a little bit more of a reflection of how you can embrace it a little bit more on your own healing journey in a way that really supports you in whatever way you want. So I wish you a really good day. Take care for now.